I've got to ask you this before we come up to the break, and then we're going to talk about the Shroud of Turin in just a few moments here. But you say Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedy brothers were assassinated for a specific reason, don't you?
Yes.
Let's get into that for just a bit. What's going on here?
Well, the thing that concerned me most about some of the information that I was able to get my hands on was that they were willing, or were talking about some of this alien things that were found out in Roswell, and their discussions and their relationship. Unfortunately, we know that was a sexual relationship that was going on between all of them. That allowed, some bedtime discussions, I'm afraid. And when it was found that information had been transferred and that Marilyn Monroe had made the comment that, she was going to come forth and she had written these things in her diary, and that this was going to be exposed because, of the people fighting against, from, let's say, the missions to Mars, the missions to the moon and things like that. It all played into itself. And you will find that whenever anyone takes a step out away from the Illuminati, you can't, in other words, you can never become in a king's role, in a president's role, or of anyone running a major company or country. You have to have the connectability to the people who rule the world. And the moment that you step out of line, you're dead. Because there are oaths, there are things that you are a part of that you cannot let the truth be known. And there is an agenda. And that agenda is being followed. It's been followed for a long, long, long time to bring about what's going to happen to humanity. And it's laid out. And at the moment, if you're going to tell it before it's supposed to be told, they get rid of you. Let's look at the people that were working on this, some of the, scientists on the Shroud. They're dead. One of the people that had a great connectability to Dolly, they found him hanging in his home. And of course we're going to get into a lot more about the Shroud and possibly the Antichrist. But
have you always been a conspiracist, a believer in these theories?
Well, when I first started researching this, like I say, I just wanted some answers to what was going on. And like I say, when I saw that in my studies, and when I was studying my doctorate, that there was all this push for a paradigm shift, and we were hearing, the third wave, Alvin Toffler, and some of the guys were really pushing that down on kids in these school systems. I saw that there was trying to be a mass indoctrination, and that they were going to place kids in these boxes of information, and that if you did not fit in the box, then they were going to drug you, and they were going to make you fit in the box. And so my concern was, why is all this happening, and who's behind it? And I think not being able to put your hands on certain things like where is the black budget money going, and knowing that there is something happening to people and that they're telling the truth. The people that I've dealt with that have had the abduction experiences, there's no doubt in my mind that they're telling me the truth as they know it. And, of course, having seen these UFOs in the sky and witnessed these things myself, people are not going out going, I'm trying to make money off of this. They're wanting to know what's the answer, what is going on. And when our government will release information under the Freedom of Information Act, and you get 200 pages full of black, marked out stuff, I'm a little bit concerned about that. That tells you that there is a cover-up. If they don't want people thinking there's a conspiracy, then don't make it look like
I remember Stanton Friedman, I coined the phrase that he's the father of modern-day ufology, was talking about some Freedom of Information Act things that he got, and they were all blacked out, all of them.
Oh, I've got some of those. It's page after page after page.
It's amazing.
And I'm like, well, you just spent all this money giving me a piece of paper that has nothing on it but black magic marker.
Yeah, what are they hiding, Joy?
Well, I think that, like I say, there is the evil and there is the good. And the people, all the way back to the Egyptians, the rulers were different. And I truly believe, George, that our rulers are different. They are not like you and I. And they have got an agenda. They don't think we're smart enough. They think they have the capability to rule the world. It's no different than what we see with Cain and Abel. I believe that Cain was the son of Satan, and I truly believe he felt like that Abel was just of Adam and Eve, and that he had the right to kingship. He went out, he built the megalithic buildings. He was the ruler. You know, he was going to rule the world. And they did not think that the normal little human population had any brains. And as we try to show them that we have brains, they are absolutely caging us in. They're going to put RF, these radio frequency chips inside of us.
Man, you sound like a regular listener of this program.
I mean, my entire book is about this. Even the knowledge of good and evil is it tells you all about what they're going to do to us, because we are like the cattle that they're dropping out of the skies. We're so, I hate to say it, we've been so brainwashed and we've been so corralled into these little thought processes.
Are we sheep, Joy?
Oh, yes, we are sheep. The interesting thing is, and I keep believing this, that there's a good thing about being a sheep, and that at the end the shepherd's going to show up, and lead us out of all this. But the thing about it is that there is something that's much greater behind all this, George, and it's being promoted
manipulated,
from the top down,
and manipulated.
And we are very manipulated. They know that we are coming into an understanding about this, because with the technology, with the internet, with phone conversations, satellites, we have been able to start talking. And you've had shows. You've got people on your shows that are just like I am, that have started, putting pieces together. Well, they're going to have to stop this from happening. And they're gradually doing it to us, and I go into great detail in my book about how they're even modifying our food. And the modification of the food actually changes the DNA structure. It also does things to the pineal gland that I think that technology, especially with these chips that they're going to implant in us. Right now, the Vera chip is something that is, again, it's a temperature gauge, kind of like what we've been talking about. How can we put it out there and see how much people are going to accept it? It's done quite well. And the next step is going to be with all the things that President Obama is going to do with what he addressed today, that we're going to add the ability for your medical bills medical
they want them all
capabilities
electronic,
to be better.
All electronic.
And it's all going to be electronic, but how is that going to work out? Because they're going to put a chip in you. And when they do, that chip can have what I call in my book nanotechnology robots. And those robotic little chips will actually go into your forehead, and they will lodge there, and you cannot get them out. And, of course, I've studied lobotomies, and I know all about lobotomies and handicapped people who've had lobotomies. I know what happened when they did that. If you attempt to do it, you end up being a robot anyway, because you don't have any knowledge of feelings or whatever at that point in time. So when these chips lodge there in the forehead, there is absolutely nothing you can do to get it out of there.
Well, you and Catherine Albrecht would be able to talk about this for 20 hours.
I'm sure, over and over, because the technology is there, and the fact that you can beam electromagnetic frequency waves at it from these cell phone towers, we're setting ourselves up for total controllability.
The Shroud of Turin, is it authentic or not? That's next.